Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology, and everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's show. Because today on the program, well, you may have guessed, actually you probably haven't because it's a little time shifted and that's completely my fault, but Nathan Evans has so graciously decided to let us time shift it a little bit, and every last Friday of the month, or supposedly, Nathan joins us to talk all about, kind of current events, headlines, what's been going on in the past month. And ladies and gentlemen, it's always a lot of fun. So computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including the show notes. Show notes are important for today's show because it has links to anything and everything that we talk about. If you're like, I don't think they really got that right, or no way, Nathan's totally making that up. Don't worry, we'll provide proof, links, clickables for you, and it will be, all-encompassing. So if you're driving, if you're tied up, don't worry, we got you covered. So with that being said, Nathan Evans is, of course, the managing editor of Popzara.com. They help us with so much, and of course, one of the big things is big events. With CES just happened, and he had a crew out there and lots of different articles, and still some coming out, because CES, even though it happens in early January, the fallout from it does not stop there. So let's go ahead, bring Nathan on, and ComputerAmerica.com, all the good stuff. Let's go ahead and bring Nathan on. Nathan, how you doing? Welcome back into the program.
Ben, and what is about making up stories? What is this accountability thing? I was told I could just say whatever I want, and I didn't need to bring sources. What's going on here?
Well, look, the fun part is you make your own sources because you are a publication. So yeah, there you go.
That's true. That's very incestual of me. But I was going to say, we've done this before. We're in a time warp. This is Groundhog's Day. This is like the 5,000. I can't talk. This is the latest at a number of times we've done this show. What's going on? We're trapped in a time loop. It's Groundhog's Day. No. Wouldn't it be great though?
The only thing that changes between one show and the next is a few dates, a few numbers, and swap between Apple and Microsoft. And yeah, you're pretty much caught up.
I'll just say this. 2024 threatens to be a repeat of 2016 in many ways.
Oh, yeah?
And that is sad. Like, if we're going to repeat a year, I don't want to repeat 2016. No, 2020. Like, I don't want to do it. Like presidential election, same people. Jon Stewart's back. Like, everything's happening all over again. I don't want to deal with this stuff. I want new stuff. Give me something new.
Well, and you say that, and that is kind of a good way to kind of segue into our story. And we'll talk a bit more about Popzara later on because, we did a podcast just after CES, and, we've been mentioning that. And then, of course, there's also some other articles and things, and, you can see it there on the video portion. But for the sake of, kind of new things, Apple, and this has been my criticism of them for a long time, it seems like anytime they put something new out, or anytime that they do anything, it's like they take the iPhone and they take away a button. They do, the iPhone, they do something, and they don't really change that much. And don't get me wrong, they put out their own silicon. They are doing things underneath the hood, but by and large, there's a real lack of innovation from what we see, as one of the most innovative companies, which, nowadays innovation to tech companies just means you go and you buy a company that's actually innovating for $1 billion and, you get a little bit different. Long way of saying Apple Vision Pro headset has been released today. And that is new. That is completely different. And I have to applaud Apple because, Nathan, I can't back on them and say they don't do anything new. And then they finally break into, admittedly, like a 6-year-old industry, but they do come out with a new product, and that's good.
Well, I mean, I'm of two minds of this thing. I'm very. Am I bearish? Am I bearish on VR? I don't even know what I am anymore. I'm not. I'm still not convinced that VR is a mainstream device or a mainstream genre.
I think it's easy to be a naysayer of VR because history would tell you that you're right. It's hard to be a believer in VR.
Well, that's the thing, though. I don't think naysayer is the right word. I think skeptical is not the right word. I don't think cynic's the right word. I don't know what I'm thinking about. I would think more like the Dvorak keyboard, because on paper, the Dvorak keyboard is better than the QWERTY keyboard. It was designed to be be, but yet it never caught on. And I think when you have the VR thing, whether it's Oculus or Meta or not who does the Valve version of it? Goodness gracious, there's so many different variations of it. So many different. Hell, Nintendo had a Labo one out of cardboard. So it's there's one for Apple. But the truth of the matter is that with Apple's Vision Pro, it comes out of the box. It's aggressively Apple. Aggressively, it is $3,500. It is all, but it does something very interesting. I'll tell you this. It does something that I think may have swayed me a little bit in the plus column.
Oh yeah.
It is the first VR headset ever released with absolutely no focus on games. You notice that? There's nothing. Like even the launch title, there's nothing there. And I think that's interesting because every single of their VR, all of them, every one of them has decided to put crummy, glitchy, blotchy games that make you sick, that don't run well, that aren't very fun. And they're selling that. And they spend billions of dollars, billions and billions, and they cost a third of the price. But with Apple, they're positioning this as a home theater edition. Like they're literally selling
home theater
this like
and
a lifestyle.
Productivity, right?
Yeah. I had a conversation.
VR games though match so well, and especially for those who haven't done it before, because and this is admittedly mixed reality, AR, whatever you want to call it, because you can still see the layout around you. But VR specifically has such good immersion qualities. Like you are immersed in an environment.
Yes.
And when you play video games, even if it's cartoony or blockish in what you say, and don't get me wrong, everything looks, kind of not very good when it comes to VR games. But it does that very well. So I can see why they kind of lean into it, but it's not relaxing, which is a lot of video games are. It's not sustainable. Like you can't do it for 6 hours at a time unless you're insane.
Well, yes.
Yeah, there's so many drawbacks that I understand why Apple didn't want to dive into that.
Well, it's not that they don't want to. I think they absolutely will at some point once they establish an ecosystem.
Well, of course they have Apple Games or Apple Game Pass or whatever the heck the Apple thing is. So they do have games that they want to bring to it, I'm sure.
Well, if you look at Apple in general, I mean, they have a very nice laptop that they've never done anything with. They have a nice phone thing that they themselves have not done with. They've instead incentivized third parties to fill in the gap. And what's so interesting is that the gaming industry is ruled very differently than the tech industry. The tech industry is ruled by overseers like OEMs that provide platforms that you can develop on: DVDs, Blu-rays, APIs, programs, web browsers, you name it. Zoom, Grubhub, whatever.
Right.
The video games are run by one company, and the walled garden effect, which has been under attack, legislatively when it comes to app stores. But if you buy a Nintendo console, it is run by Nintendo. Nintendo makes the rules, and whether you like them, if you don't like them, then you don't have it. If you like them, you like it. Same with Sony, same with Microsoft. But you have to go through their walled garden. Mm-hmm. The idea of an open platform like what Apple provides is a very different thing. It's been very successful in the app market. I told you before, I told you this. I think the App Store is the most successful thing Apple has ever done as a company, ever. I think it's boring, and that's why I don't think we talk about it the way we talk about iPhone or we talk about this. But without the App Store, there is no iPhone. Yeah. There is no MacBook. There is
well,
no
the
nothing.
boring
Like,
things
it is what it is.
are what make companies, really standard. Like you can look at Amazon, you could say, oh yeah, they can provide all the shipping stuff. Like, yeah, the two boring things about their company are, it's not that we don't talk about the Fire TVs, we don't talk about the digital assistants and stuff like that. The boring stuff is the shipping apparatus that they have introduced and the Amazon Web Services that they have created.
Forgive me for this. Horrible analogy I'm about to make. But look at ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, invented the aqueducts.
I heard it wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't built in a day. But here's the thing, though. Here's the problem. All roads lead there. But the fact is that one of the biggest innovations Rome had was, running
plumbing. Water.
Yeah, running water. And when it runs well, you have one of the most significant civilizations in the world. And when it's not run well, you have lead poisoning and no civilization. like I think most historians agree that bad funneling of fluids is
droughts and lead and all that good stuff really put a damper on that, which luckily in America that would never happen nowadays. Lead in the drinking water, but
lead in the drinking water. But the fact of the matter is the analogy is strained. But the thing is, if you have a nice boring ecosystem, you have a system, you have a culture, and I think imagine things like Uber and Lyft and, like I said, Grubhub or Zoom or TikTok, like components of those existed forever. But the system in place allowed that to happen. I think with VR, it's very similar, is that we focus so much on turning a video game into that thing. Instead,
there was almost no talk of... On their site, they do cite that gaming experiences and the Apple Arcade is kind of what they do. But you're right, it's third fiddle to productivity and then entertainment, which is movies.
It's barely there. It's I wouldn't even count it as a feature. Like, there's nothing for it right now. Like, it's just static iOS games. But what I mean is, like, when you look at the stuff that they focused on, like home theater and productivity, like literally, there's been more focus on Microsoft Office coming to this thing. Microsoft Office is coming, and I looked at some of the applications of it, and I'm not going to lie to you, it intrigued me a little bit, and I had this huge conversation with a colleague yesterday. What happens when these devices, they shrink down to the size of your eyeglasses or even contact lens, right? And the funny thing is, once that happens, and because, let me jump ahead a little quick. Apple was a big champion of AR for a very long time, augmented reality.
Yeah.
Like they actually kind of poo-pooed VR. They said AR is going to be the way. Your iPhone is fully capable of doing AR. They bragged about it, other thing. Never really went anywhere other than Amazon apps to check desks. But it's a cool technology. The Vision Pro is not AR. It's pass-through. Like, you are looking at screens, and those screens record and project to your eyes. And if you watch some of the videos, right? This is crazy. If you watch some of the videos of people looking at it, it's almost like you're watching a horror film, because you're looking at video that they're not seeing with their own eyes. They're seeing a camera version projected. But there's glitches in the matrix. Like, there was this one video, I think, from The Verge where he's looking at a microwave and his digital reader is all glitching, right? Like, there's certain elements of the real world that are not being filtered through Apple's system. And I thought to myself, you remember the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, of course.
When he gets the new eyes, and of course everything's synced, and it's for a version of like holographic or whatever AR. But what's going to happen is when the technology gets to the point where it's like a Ray-Ban sunglass. Like, I know we have recording glasses like that, but no, I'm talking actual projection when it becomes omnipresent. That's the end of our species. Like, they will never take them off.
It kind of reminds me with Futurama and the whole "don't date robots" thing. It's
don't date robots.
Yeah. Why would you bother with human experiences when the artificial ones are so much better? It's Well,
think about this. Even though the video saw, so people are talking about the big screen TVs, 75-inch TVs, projectors, right? But what happens if you have something like this, the Apple Vision Pro, but it's like, again, it's the size of a Ray-Ban sunglass, and you sit on your couch and you don't need a TV because your TV is 150 feet. in your thing. Like it's
it,
going to be different.
it is the size of the IMAX to you, to the person with the headphones on, or not headphones, I'm sorry, with the headset on. And I have over the holiday break, I did get to try the new Google one, whichever one, like the 4, the Google. Not the I keep wanting to say Pixel.
They need better names. They need better names.
Yeah. 4.
Very confusing.
No. I'm sorry. Not the Daydream. The Facebook. The Facebook. Meta Quest 4. I think.
Is it the new one that costs $500?
Yeah. I got to try one. The comfort is better, but the comfort is not great. You're still wearing something that hangs off of your face.
Exactly.
Which kind of makes me wonder, the real implications, like because it's Apple's going to have to do some real cool stuff with this, Nathan, because I feel like, it can double as a monitor, but so can your monitor, and it's not hanging off of your face.
Well, yeah. And it is still the idea that it's not immersive. The problem is that you talk about not immersion, but you talk about sense of depth and everything. So what we should be talking about, now hear me out, this is going to be very convoluted, but I'll try to make it simple. Instead of trying to replicate Elden Ring and Call of Duty and Sway, right? Those games, like if you play Call of Duty, Activision, whatever, has spent billions of dollars fine-tuning this product to the way it is. It is customized to work on 60 frames a second on a flat screen. It is not adapted to be three-dimensional. That is a different beast. But you look at Apple Vision Pro, which is the first VR to actually talk about this. They're showing integration with MacBooks and iPhones with apps, like almost no talk of the immersion aspect. It's functionality first, and that's not as sexy as swinging a sword in a fantasy realm. But at the end of the day, though, it's far more realistic. Swinging
a sword in a fantasy realm versus swinging a cursor in a Word document.
No cursor though. That's the thing. Like another thing is that there's no gloves. You don't have to hold on to a sex toy.
I was going to ask you about that, because when it comes to productivity, and it says it works with their magic pad, like whatever the touch pad is. I'm most headsets, if not all headsets up to this point, have had the 2 controllers, and they work like little lasers and points and that kind of thing. I truly believe that those are good controllers, and I know Apple doesn't want that, and they're trying to find ways around it. I think they're going to come out with their own version.
They'll tell you they don't want it. It's like the pencil on the iPad. They'll tell you, oh, you already have a finger. That's the perfect stylus. But eventually they'll say, you know what? It's not so bad. Like iPads have mice and keyboards. Like they didn't have that at first. But no, because here's the thing though. One system, like you have a keyboard and mouse on your PC, but you probably have a game controller. Like versatility is good. But the problem is that we're not talking about replicating what you already have. We're trying to innovate past that and introduce a new method of immersion. And that's difficult, because you can't just say, hey, let's make the new thing and have it be a thing. When you look at VR headsets from everybody else, HTC, Meta, whatever, they're all from the same cloth. Like it's what Steve Jobs used to call the boring beige boxes.
Yeah.
It's a headset on your head, battery pack, whatever, or self-contained, 2 like lascivious looking controllers. It's all cut from the exact same thing. The Apple thing says no controllers, all controlled with hand tracking. It's audacious, but it also does break away from the convention that I think has limited the competition. Because again, I'm not speaking from experience. I don't like VR. I have nothing for it or against it. But the idea of, and I told you, just selfishly speaking, like the number one impediment to VR is the fact that when you wear these things, you look stupid. And that's a hard sell for a lot of people.
So the only way that I can, and just because I can fold AI into this, the only way that this would really work, and Apple has been very proud of how they're able to integrate AI, on system. They don't have to, connect to a server or anything like that. the only way out of this that I can see, because like you said, mouse and keyboard has been around forever, control has been around forever, and it probably will be for a long time. People like, click a mouse button, do an action, press a key, produce a character. Humans, I think, are very much action, followed by action. But I think Apple, if they're going to do this, they're going to have to use AI that's going to say, okay, Ben glanced at his search bar and, without blinking, without winking, without double blinking, it's going to have to know, okay, he's not just reading it. He wants to input a new, address in the search bar. Like stuff like that is how you're going to get around it, because man, keyboard and mouse is just so intuitive at this point.
I'll say this. I call it the Linux effect, and I have nothing against our Linux friends, although they hate me with passion. But when Linux people say it's easy, just open up a terminal box and type in sudo whatever. No, that's not easy. That's very difficult for 99% of the species. Like, we have different versions of easy, right? Like, I have literally helped teach classes with older people. Like, you've seen this before. Don't laugh. Like, older people struggled with double clicking a mouse. They struggled with it, which is why Apple had the single click for a long time, because people had trouble double clicking.
My mom still does, where I can't tell you how many times a year I have to explain to her the difference between a tap and a press. Even on just like her smartphone, like there is a difference between a tap and a press, and she like presses instead of taps, and stuff doesn't work, and she's like, "Oh, this thing's impossible." I'm like,
Yeah, like I said, the mouse and keyboard you're using is basically an evolved version of a typewriter and a pencil.
Yeah.
Right. And it's basically the things haven't changed. Like when you think about technology, the most resilient technology that has ever happened besides the lever has been writing, like the printed word. The printed word has sustained everything. It has never been made obsolete, despite stupid emojis. Like the letter, like our our writing system, whether it's Arabic, whether it's English, whether it's Asian pictographs, the writing system survives because it was perfected. It's perfect the way it is. So how do we, we have arguments over fonts about which is the most beautiful font, or about clarity or DPI. It's all about making these letters cleaner and smoother. Even the Vision Pro, same thing. So the question there becomes, how do we interact with things? Like, how do you interact with a spreadsheet? How do you interact with, a Word document? How do you interact with a movie? How do you do this kind of thing? And I think what the Apple what the Apple Vision Pro does, it does have a leap forward.
Right.
Like you look at it, like Apple clearly spent a lot of time and money, and you're going to spend a lot of money too, just carving away a lot of the flotsam and jetsam. And I'm sorry to say this, but I don't think gaming. Look, if you're gaming on VR, I get it. You buy all the headsets. You are the demographic. Like the reason Meta says they sold 10 million is because you bought 10. Like they don't. But the mainstream stays far away from it. And anecdotal evidence. I'll say this: when the Meta Quest 3 or whatever, when the new one came out, I personally know 4 people who bought the second generation one, the one before it, because it was on sale. Used it for a week. None of them have ever used it since. None of them, not one, because it became an impulse buy. They were really curious about it. They were very curious, but it's kind of VR has become like the salad shooter of the modern age. You know what? Ben? Salad shooter? We can make salads so much easier. If I had this, I could make salads all the time. And you get it, and you use it, but after you use it twice, you're like, you know what? I'm not really into salad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a waffle maker. It's like, oh yeah, I always want a waffle maker, and then you make waffles once a year, and you're like,
But actually, that's a really good analogy. But then there was an innovation in that stupid market, that horrible made-for-TV market, the George Foreman grill. The George Foreman grill came out, had a very enthusiastic salesperson, right, very lovable, and had a single thing. It didn't change the world. It just pressed meat and drained grease.
Yeah.
But it changed that whole market completely. There was, for those who don't know, there was hundreds of alternatives to those things.
Yes.
But no, it just takes
the George Foreman grill. Yep. A very popular name became, almost overshadowed by little 2 irons pressed together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was very simple. It did not have a lot of bells and whistles. It got rid of a lot of the other features, a lot of the complex ones does, but it did the one thing very well. And so there's, you can put that on the quote.
Yep.
The Apple Vision Pro is the George Foreman grill of 2024.
I would not even call it that much of a success. Like the price point alone, huge turn off. Like whatever sales that they report of this thing, I will be shocked.
They're not losing any money though. That's the thing. That thing is $3,500 because Apple has no confidence in this thing being a loss leader. Can I be honest with you? Yeah, like you're paying for this thing. Apple's not subsidizing.
Yeah, no. Apple has. Let's face it. Apple already has the hardware. They have the software. They have they have all the screens that they need to put in. Like all of this is almost like recycled from other stuff. They built it from scraps in a desert.
It still uses. By the way, it still uses Lightning cable.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not for long. And probably not for long.
Huh?
Yeah. So, but all this is like slapped together, and I feel like it's going to be like their not their iMac, the really big iPad, like the one that was for professionals.
The Pro? The 12-inch one?
Yeah, the iPad Pro that's like, just...
I've seen it, yeah. For me, it's not for me.
Yeah, no, it's not really for anyone. Like even drawers don't even prefer that kind of thing.
Drawers?
People who artist. I'm sorry.
People who artist?
Yes, it is for artists. It's been a long week, Nathan. But yeah, no, it's supposedly for artists and productivity and that kind of thing. But like even they don't want it because they have other options when it comes to that kind of market for cheaper. But Apple still produces them and updates them. You're right.
Can I say something though?
Yeah, good.
But here's the thing. But you're more right than you think you are. So Apple introduces these very expensive, huge iPads that nobody wants. But the technology from those iPads, the Pros, did trickle down into the mainstream. Like, for example, you can buy a budget iPad right now, the cheapest one for like $320. It does everything the Pro does. You could even use the pencil. That wasn't like that before. Like that stuff has trickled down and it became more affordable. Like if you want to get a drawer to do artists, then you can get a cheap iPad. By the way, full disclosure, I won't reveal her name, but one of the artists that helps with the art on Popzara exclusively does all her artwork on an iPad with a pencil. Really? She's fantastic. And the truth is that's, think about it, as opposed to like buying a big Wacom tablet that was $400. That's for her, that's a lot. For a lot of people, I think that's become very economical. So but that's trickle down technology. And I think in some ways we're going to see Apple's foray into this new type of environment take effect. Because I think the most exciting thing about the Vision Pro, I think the helmet looks stupid. It looks like something out of Tron. Apparently, it's heavy. It's way too expensive. But Apple is innovating in which they do best. They're innovating in immersive interaction.
Right.
Yeah, and it already looks better than anything anybody's ever done.
Definitely on the software side, and really just integrating, not video games into an enjoyable, usable experience. And the fact that that they didn't say, although they have this cord hanging off of it, is it connected to a battery pack?
Yeah, it's a battery pack, and but it's kind of like when Microsoft. Give you an example of what Facebook and Microsoft have failed at, even Sony. Like they tried to go video game first, then consumer second, and you saw redunculous versions, like Microsoft naming their AI assistant after Halo. PlayStation trying to create a PlayStation Portal thing. It just didn't work. Like it has to go the other way first. It has to go the other way. It's a different market sector, and on one hand, I want this thing to be running, but I get uncomfortable with technology that's supposed to be mainstream and it's named after like Deathmatch or Ripper, or it's named after like fragging. Like to me it doesn't feel like I'm comfortable with that. And not just me, but I think a lot of people are like that. Like grandma is not going to buy like a Threadripper fragtastic card with RGB lighting. Grandma wants Jitterbug. Okay? Jitterbug. That's what she wants.
Yep. So
I'm not joking, by the way.
Yeah, no. They're certainly understanding your markets and know that at the same time markets are evolving, but they don't evolve as fast as technology evolves. And people can say that that's a drawback, but having really any kind of innovation is good. I'm not, again, good on Apple. They did something new, so good for them. Good for that $3 trillion company that they are able to put out a new product.
There is one more comment I had to make, because look at that video, look at that picture you have on the screen with the woman, and that's a projected eyesight. That looks like Kane from RoboCop 2.
I was wondering how they were doing that. Is there slightly opaque, or is that literally just like
no, that's what I'm saying.
A picture of her eyes?
No, it's a picture, because it's a camera. Like, it's not see-through.
That explains
it. So that's
it.
what I was trying to say. So everything the camera sees is projected in your eyes. It's through a thin layer. I think a lot of people were under the apprehension that it was see-through. It's not. Like again, look up Kane from RoboCop 2. Thank me later. But I'll say this. There is another application, though, that I thought about. Like, and if Apple nails this, then it'll be a breakthrough. There are people with vision problems. People, for example, something like this could help, could benefit people with disabilities. See? I'm not joking. Look at that. Yep. Yeah. Kane's happening. But you know what? If they took inspiration from RoboCop, I would love it.
I'm sure someone out there is already making an app for it. It's there are use cases that are not for us. Like you said, accessibility is something that Apple is highlighting. I think this is overall a good thing, but it has, of course, the typical Apple drawbacks, which is it's way too expensive. They're probably not gonna do enough with it, but hey, it's something new. So that's really my biggest thumbs up to them.
If you buy one right now, if you buy the Apple Vision Pro, you are a beta tester. You can
put it on the shelf right next to your Google glasses and say I did that. Yeah.
Exactly. You are a beta tester for Apple, but I will say this about Apple though. Apple tends not to get out of markets. Like I can't think of a single Apple product that came to market that they quit on.
iPod.
Can I be honest? No, they didn't quit. It just evolved.
It did evolve into the iPhone. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's funny. That was my entry point. I actually had the iPod, then I had the iPod Touch for years. I miss my iPod Touch, but then I was forced into getting an iPhone because they discontinued it. But the fact of the matter is that Apple does not get out of markets.
Right.
That's the truth. That's what I'm saying. So again, I am hesitant to say it's a failure, but I will say look towards the immersion aspect. Look for the way the interface is done. And I think that's where the excitement's going to be. Maybe it's not as sexy as games, but maybe you don't think Microsoft Word documents and Zoom meetings are sexy, but it's a lot more useful.
I might even, if I can convince my significant other, I might actually make like the hour drive to the nearest Apple store and go try these out myself.
You have to get prescription lenses, though. Did you hear about? There was some controversy about this.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that way at the bottom in kind of the disclaimers here. It's $3,500 for 256 gigs of storage, and then they say Zeiss ZEISS optical inserts are $100. With prescriptions will be available for $150. So if you just need typical, readers to read, you would need a $100 insert or prescription $150 and probably order them custom. So
when I every time I buy my glasses, I always get I think Nikon or Zeiss. So it's one or the other. But like I said, I'm going to remain hesitant to call it a failure, but I will say it is the first VR device that made me feel it's not worthless.
Right.
Now, and the funny thing is, if I were Mark Zuckerberg, I would be trying my best to cobble together a productivity package for my Oculus right now.
He tried, and he really tried, especially with the Portal and the MetaQuest, to make it like a video meeting kind of thing.
Yeah, it was stupid looking. It was ridiculed for looking stupid. And I'm telling you right now, like, I'll be honest with you, man. One of the reasons Macs sell really well has nothing to do with Apple. It has everything to do with the fact you can buy productivity apps on it. Yeah. Microsoft Word is still one of the best-selling programs for Macintosh. If you like, even Chromebooks have it. Like, you need productivity stuff. You get productivity. If you have a $500 headset that's not horrible, and it's just the potential is just being squandered. And yeah, copy the hell out of what Apple's doing, make it as cheap as you can, and maybe we can talk. Maybe that's the push that we need to go forward.
Yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. But I was just poking through other headlines, and we're not going to get into it. But Meta's Reality Labs had its best quarter, but still lost $4 billion last quarter. So, this VR thing is not cracked yet, but they're trying.
It won't be though. That's what I'm saying. Until they figure out how to get past the fact. Look,
if nothing else, though, and sorry for interrupting you, but I got to say, if nothing else, Apple getting into the space actually helps Facebook and Valve and and HTC so much, because it legitimizes the space just that much more. So. Well,
the last time I think we had this happen, I don't think the wearables. Again, I think wearables is a niche product too. Although they have had some success. Mm-hmm. They're certainly not as ubiquitous as like an iPad or iPhone. But I think the last time I saw a real bellwether change because Apple, dipped their toes in the market was the introduction of NFCs and payment systems on mobile devices.
Yeah, Apple Pay was really revolutionary.
Yeah. For years, a big selling point of Android was that it had NFC, and Apple didn't have anything. And then one day, Apple decides to get into it, and suddenly every store you go to now has contactless payment systems and NFCs.
And now that I kind of think about it, that's probably what's happening going through Facebook, and that's probably what's going through, or I should say Meta, and that's what's going through all these other companies that do make these VR headsets, and Google, is that they're probably saying, thank goodness no one's going to pay $3,500, or the people that are interested in the $3,500 are going to look for more budget-friendly headsets, and that's where people, I would not be surprised if we see a spike in sales in the $300 to $800 range of headsets after Apple releases this.
If they are able to recast themselves as a productivity suite, that will happen.
Yeah.
Again, you go to Best Buy and they have gaming laptops that cost $2,000, and they're really nice. They're very powerful. They're powerful as desktop. But you know what? You need one for school. You get a $300 laptop.
You get a Chromebook.
Everything you need. Exactly. Or how you get Windows now. Mm-hmm. You get Windows that runs better. You don't need to spend $2,000 to get all that stuff. And that's, if I were HTC, if I were Meta, I would drop this ridiculous quest to try to make it some sort of competitor to the Switch and turn it into a productivity suite. And you got some money there. You will see sales go through the roof. 10 times sales, 10 times, easy. Look at her. Look at her. She's like, I don't want to be wearing this. She's saying,
you can't see because it only projects the happy, smiling eyes, but she's actually crying in there. It's actually surgically attached to. No. Good luck, Apple. We'll see what happens, but I would not be surprised if other headsets are probably praising this more than anything else. So
they're ecstatic. Yep. Meta's ecstatic about this thing.
Yep. So let's go ahead and move on over to a little bit different, and I'm sure people have heard this. This made a lot of big headlines, but for everyone out there who said, and I'm trying to think, even myself included, but I always thought like the password sharing crackdown wasn't so much about you let your kids who go away to college use your Netflix account because they're not at home anymore. That probably did happen. I'm not saying it never happened. The real problem that I heard was, and this is just through doing Computer America, and I would never do this. And in fact, I do pay for Netflix, so whatever. But people were going online and to different marketplaces, and you could go check out like you could any other online store, and you could buy login credentials for a Netflix account. And one Netflix account would have 10 different users, and each of them would be in Brazil, Zambia, Nicaragua. It would be in Eastern Europe. Like Nathan, there would be users all over the world, and I felt like that's what Netflix was trying to crack down on, and they certainly did. And I'm sure they caught up a number of college students.
I think so. Mm-hmm. I think that's true. I think the vast majority of people who quote unquote share Netflix password probably are doing it,
within the family or within close friends.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. Yeah.
But I also think that it's just more practical when you actually consider the obvious. When Apple, going back to Apple, when Apple brought out iTunes and they said we're going to start charging per song, people laughed at them. Oh, no one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. No, they were openly mocked. But they said, no, you'll pay for a service that's worth your money.
Convenient, yeah.
And I think
convenient and good.
Yeah, and I think what Netflix did, and again, Netflix could do this because Netflix is by far the biggest one. And I don't know how else to say this, but Netflix is the only substantive streaming channel. Like Netflix is the default. Like we talked about, like residual stuff. Like
right.
Netflix is so big, people become so addicted to it. Like maybe not you and I, but younger people gorge on Netflix. If you look at the Academy Award nominations, Netflix leads everybody. Netflix leads
as addicted as I think a lot of listeners are, because we're of a certain ilk. As addictive as you were to television in your younger days, that's what the younger generation is to Netflix. Yeah, yes. and of course YouTube. And I would throw that in there too.
So I think what happens is you have the idea of the personal space, right? You have the idea of a personal device, personal this. I think Netflix looked at the numbers and they took the calculated risk, but probably based on some really good data.
Oh, it paid off, and it paid off wonderfully.
Yeah, they said, okay, we'll get a bunch of people that will cry and whine about it. I'm going to cancel my Netflix account. But I think at the end of the day, people would rather have their own account rather than be canceled, especially younger people who are risk adverse to credit card debt. Can I say that? And so it worked for them.
Yep.
And once Netflix does it, like we just talked about Vision Quest, once Netflix did it, it was the signal for everyone else to do it.
That was something that we did predict here on the show, which is as soon, depending on how this works out for Netflix, everyone else is going to do it. If there's a big backlash, then they're going to, Netflix is going to backtrack and no one else is going to do it. But if it worked out well, everyone's going to do it.
Well, one caveat, though, is that Hulu is no Netflix. Disney Plus is no Netflix. And I think, and that's why I had to preface
just Disney at this point?
Kind of. They are Disney Plus and Hulu are merging. In fact, they offer a PSA for you, by the way. PSA. If you have Hulu and Disney Plus, they literally have a subscription on their site. For $20, you get both with no ads. It's insane.
I think I was browsing through Disney, and they actually have an app within Disney Plus. So you log into Disney Plus, and then there's a channel inside Disney Plus called Hulu, and you can watch Hulu stuff within the Disney. They're clearly going to merge at some point.
No, they're in fact, there was a Marvel show called Echo. Right, that just came out that literally debuted on both. Like it's happening. Like the merging is happening.
Yeah,
Hulu will be phased out. But I will say this: you can only have this type of chutzpah if people want what you have.
I like that.
Yeah, chutzpah. Sorry, but well, I am a Shamil, So what I'm saying though is that I'm not sure if Disney has that type of cachet. And the reason I say this is because we've seen Max Ryzen fall, Paramount Plus, Showtime get merged in with I forget. Amazon Prime is going through its own kerfuffle.
There's a consolidation, and there's also like last year was the price increases across the board. Now there's a consolidation for sure. And someone just gave an offer to NBC Universal to buy their streaming service. I forget who that was.
Paramount might be selling too. It's the truth of the matter is that again, they're not all doing well. Netflix is on a different level, and it's kind of like the tablet market. Yeah, you could buy an iPad or buy an Android tablet, but the market is an iPad market. And that's what all the other streaming services, they're all in flux, they're all in play. Like I don't know if we're gonna talk about YouTube later, but YouTube's a good example of a service that kept getting reborn and rechristened because
let's just say this real quick. So for those who can't read the headline, who are just listening, Hulu Disney Plus crackdown, password crackdown kills account sharing on March 14th. So starting March 14th, if your family suddenly say, hey, I can't log into our or your Disney Plus, well, yeah, now you know why. Starting March 14th.
And there is something else that I can't really speak with authority on, but there is movement with Netflix to become like a commoditized product, where Netflix will now be like a rider on cell phone services or with certain cable systems, and they're going to be more interoperable with those services as well. And so the streaming services as the way it is now will kind of resemble cable like 10 years ago.
That was always the worry that, streaming was the alternative to cable. But of course, as the market shifts and, the numbers speak for themselves. Cable is on a decline, streaming's on an increase, but at the same time, cable's not dead yet. And there's a lot more money in cable television that will be coming to streaming. And when that money comes, you're going to have the same market pressures. Like, it's not like they built cable TV to be this fee-laden thing. It's like, no, people wanted money for a lot of different things. And as Netflix said that they're getting live sports. They had live shows for a little while now. Like, as things start to come to Netflix that are more traditional, those same market pressures are going to start affecting streaming, and it's just going to go up and up and up.
I think the end of that would be like what Apple does with Apple TV, where not only is there no password sharing, it's verboten from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Like your Apple service is tied to your iCloud account,
right?
And that is impenetrable. You cannot be sharing that stuff. And I think that might be similar to what we're looking at, or it might be that extreme, or it might be what like Spotify does or Amazon, where they have like a shared family plan where they don't care where you are. Like you're specifically paying for shared accounts. Like I have a shared account with Spotify that I enjoy called Duo, that I share with a friend, and they don't care where you are. They don't care where you are.
Right.
You're paying for two accounts, but it's not, it's a good deal. So I think maybe we're going to be looking into options like this. But I'll say this: I'm going to follow this story because I want to see if it has any effect on Hulu. I don't think it will, because again, I think Hulu is going away, and Disney has struggled to grow its user base.
Yeah,
like they've actually shedded users quite a bit because they've
gotten all the kids that can read the credit card numbers off their parents' credit cards. So yeah, where do they grow from here? And folding in Hulu is probably the best way. But even then, as always, it's Netflix is the huge one to catch.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'll say this. It all comes down to this. It's a boring answer, but it all comes down to this. Your content has to kick ass, and like it or not, Netflix's content kicks ass. It's what people are watching. It's the shows that define the generation. That is not the case with Disney. That is not the case. The only other one that may come close to them, ironically, would be like not Paramount Plus. What's the other one? Oh goodness, what's the one with Kevin Costner?
Boy, I do not know. HBO?
No. That's one that got screwed up, by the way. They talk about leveraging a bad brand. Peacock Network.
Peacock, okay.
Like Peacock, nowhere near as popular as Netflix, but it's very happy being that smaller service, and they have massive amount of shows that are original, like all the Kevin Costner westerns. They have comedies, they have stuff like that, and they've done really well for themselves. They've done with movies, and like you can either be the biggest one and expend all that money to stay big, or you can kind of go the other way and innovate from the ground up. Mm-hmm. But Disney tried to have it both ways, and it turns out people didn't kind of want what they had.
Yeah, Disney has a great catalog of already existing IP, but their initial price point was so good that when they started to raise, people realized, oh, I'm only watching one service, and that turns out to be Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure at $4.99, Disney Plus is still a good deal. It's like up to like $10 or something like that. So at that point, you got to pick.
And you simply can't run a streaming platform on Marvel and Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
I don't watch any of those those serial killer documentaries on Netflix. I don't watch Suits. I don't watch any of that stuff. But every once in a while, I'll show up to watch like a new animated film or a documentary or something. Like Netflix has a variety of things. Is it my favorite streaming channel? It is not.
I'm still trying to convince my wife that Korean, like those weird trippy, you just got teleported to a video game and and everyone's dying around you. Like, I'm still trying to convince her that those Korean television shows, like Squid Game-esque kind of thing, and Squid Games is what turned me onto it, are good. I love those things.
Oh, I turned on Hulu the other day or Paramount or something, and I noticed they added like 10 new shows and they're all Korean. It's like, because again, Netflix led the way. Netflix, it wasn't just Squid Game, by the way. It was all those other soap operas and everything else. And it was crazy. That's what you get. Like Netflix is boring at this point because we know it's number one, and we know. So of course it has now become the enemy. Right. So we will talk crap about it.
So talking about streaming service and dominance and stuff like that, we can of course just branch right on over into YouTube and their paid music, because much like Netflix, you have Spotify in their respective field. Spotify being so big. And, well, YouTube Music has actually been a very strong second player in the field. You don't think so?
Yeah. No, I do, but it's the and.
Yes.
Like when they say music and premium. So that's what's called an Amway boast. Have you heard about this?
What's that? So Amway?
Do you remember Amway?
Yeah.
Remember Amway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they changed their name.
Pyramid scheme.
Quickstar. Pyramid scheme. Yeah, it's just not a pyramid scheme, it's a triangle. No. But no, they used to have these commercials back in the day, and they said, "Did you know that Amway is one of the leading, sellers of cosmetics? Did you also know that Amway is one of the leaders of vitamins? Together, Amway is the world's leading seller of vitamins and makeup." It's the and. And I would say that if I actually looked at the metrics of YouTube Music, it's probably lower than Apple Music. It's probably lower than anything else. But when you combine it with YouTube Premium, there's a lot. But no, they Google, Alphabet, whatever you call them, they announced that they have 100 million subscribers to YouTube Music and Premium, which is, I don't know if that's good or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot. I mean, what? It's almost funny because like YouTube kind of started, and Google definitely started. It's like they made online advertising so profitable that they wanted to put it all over your screen, and now they're turning record profits from going ad free. It's like they sold the solution to the poison that they sold you in the first place.
Check this out.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, I talked to you about how I thought when Musk was, distangling Twitter into X, or whatever the hell he was doing, I said that some advertisers are trying to flee YouTube because they found, there's been some hullabaloo that Google, that YouTube is starting to stifle existing content.
Yeah. And
it was becoming hostile to certain demographics. And they were YouTube was very much trying to become like a Discovery Channel sort of thing. It was, you needed high production values. And I told you, I said, I hear rumblings that X or Twitter, he was going to start welcoming it to become a video streaming platform.
Yeah.
And I know, and while I may not agree with the content, I know Tucker Carlson had debuted a show there, and he was getting like 40 to 60 million viewers on this.
Yeah.
Now, even if we say
that was a nice confluence of someone with an existingly large and dedicated audience with a lot of headlines for his very high profile firing, but also it showed that there was a desire for something like that. Yes.
Well, we have Rumble, we have BitChute. There's all these other versions of YouTube that just haven't taken off, right? But what happened is after we talked, there was a big announcement on X that it was getting shows, and these were actually popular people. Like there was Tulsi Gabbard, Don Lemon from CNN, other things, and then of all people, who actually started posting on the platform? Mr. Beast.
Yes.
He did a very public thing where he tested it, and it turns out he made money on it. Now, he admitted it's nowhere near as much as he makes on YouTube, but the fact that he did it means that if the world's biggest YouTuber is experimenting on the competition, then that alone is something to think about as a platform.
Yeah. Yep.
And like I said, Musk, whether you like him or hate him, or you think he's a visionary, you think he's a swindler, the fact of the matter is, though, he is recognizing that there is a need for competition in the streaming channel market that YouTube does. Someone will hit it. Someone will get it right, and there will be another channel. That's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
will it be X? I don't know.
There will always be something new. And the cycles between them, like we've kind of gotten used to the same names in technology, but that's just because of acquisitions and the way that works. There is innovation. It's just they get gobbled up and then incorporated. So that won't last forever, though. I promise you that will not last forever.
But AOL lasts forever. No.
Yes, AOL and yeah, Nathan, I don't see you on AIM. Why aren't you on AIM anymore?
Because I'm too busy on Yahoo Instant Messenger.
Yes, exactly. So
I'm on ICQ.
Thank goodness those things go away. Okay, so speaking of thank goodness for going away, the FCC has solved the problem, Nathan. I'm proud to report. You're laughing. I can't believe this. This is such a good thing. FCC moves to outlaw AI-generated robocalls.
There we go.
You're shocked.
Solved the problem. No more 500 calls a day trying to from a call center in India trying to sell me my Medicare benefit. So I'll say this. I sent this to you as a joke. Like when I hear the audacity that the FCC, who can't even ban robocalls as it is, are going to somehow leverage that and ban AI. Like this is okay. This story doesn't exist by itself. This is a follow-up to what happened a couple days ago in Congress when they hauled all the social media people up and started berating them for child safety. And then they talked about AI this and AI that. It's a buzzword at this point. It's a buzzword. It's like putting cocaine in your tea.
Yes.
Like it gets you high, but no one understands what it's happening. Like did you know like Y2K with AI is suddenly a thing?
So I think these AI generated robocalls, it's they're still the same robocalls that you know and love. It's just, and I've actually been fooled by them too. Like I've picked up the phone and been like, oh, this person isn't really responding to me correctly, but like they sound real.
You've been fooled? Really?
Well, fooled as in like this isn't immediately just a recording. Like I thought it was an actual person. And that's the AI part. It's using AI voices to do the speaky part of a robocall. And I can say that's going to get a lot of people in trouble. Like not myself, because I'm very, very smart and would never fall for this. But I think others will fall for this. And that's the sad part.
I agree. But I think people fall for robocalls in general. And I think, I think it was in New Hampshire. New Hampshire had their primary a couple weeks ago. And I think there were robocalls of an AI-generated Joe Biden telling people, calling people and telling them to vote for Republicans. Like that's different. That's falsification, right? We could see a use case to get rid of something like that. But the fact of the matter is that robocalls should be illegal. I'm old enough to remember the do not call list that was never enforced.
Yeah, that totally worked. Yeah.
Yeah, I can show you my call log. I get I'm not joking, Ben. I probably get 20 to 30 calls a day. People asking me, and every once in a while, by the way, here's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Here's my PSA to help you out. Mess with them. Don't just hang up. Like if you get them on the phone and you talk with them, waste their time. Eventually, it will help a little because your number will be taken out of the queue. But waste their time. If you just hang up, they're just going to keep calling. So put them on hold.
There's lots of great YouTubers and other people who make a living off of just messing with robocallers, scam callers from India, Pakistan, China, so on and so forth. But yeah, it is a massive problem, and AI is only going to make it just worse.
It's just funny to me that the head of the FCC somehow had the temerity to suggest that they could control robocalls.
So here's some of the numbers and I need to look up more recent numbers because this is from like a year or two ago, but like they have issued like 18 billion or some billion number of fines due to robocalls and ever since the inception of the program. But Nathan, they have collected, and I don't know who the idiot is that actually gave them money. They have collected $3,400 total ever in fees and fines. $3,400 ever after saying it's illegal and handing out massive fines, taking down companies. Yeah.
This is absolute bullshit. And I'll tell you right now, like the idea that the FCC thinks they can regulate anything. And by the way, completely unrelated, but kind of related, maybe kissing cousins, maybe second cousins twice removed. is going back to something like net neutrality. It's the idea that if the government regulates a service, they can control the service. That's the idea, right? That's the idea that we can implement. We can have safeguards. We can have non-discriminatory policies. That's a really good idea, right? That's a good idea. You know what else is a good idea? Alchemy. That's a good idea. You know what? Yeah,
lead to gold, huh?
Look at all this. Just turn this into gold. Problem solved. That's a great idea for idiots. And I'm telling you right now, like the idea that the head, if this was just some charlatan, but let me finish this though, Ben. If this was just some non-important congressperson, because there's like 300 of them, if this is just some stupid congressperson saying we're going to somehow control AI with robocalls, I would just say, never. This is the head of the FCC that said it. She should know better.
Yeah,
like you should know better. You have no say over this.
So what I have to say is that the FCC, they can't just say, can't control it, not going to worry about it, good luck everyone. They literally cannot say that. They have to put out this kind of verbiage. They have to put out this kind of thing. And, you know, Nathan, even just making it illegal stifles it somewhat. Like, even if they never catch anyone, even if they can issue all the fines in the world, just saying that it is against the rules will prevent people from doing it. So even though they never catch anyone, I think they're still helping even by saying this.
The truth is, though, I mean, we just went through a Hollywood strike where they talked about AI, right? They talked about AI generation, and then you had Disney, of course, purchase these AI generative tools, which they've been using in their shows to like they now own James Earl Jones's voice, right? You saw a bunch of you saw a bunch of has-been comedians put out a fake George Carlin special that was touted to be made by AI. Like, on one hand, so you have Hollywood say, we don't want this, but all the evidence suggests they do want this. You have the tech industry says, oh, AI is scary, you should regulate us. But did you see CES? That's all they talk about. AI.
This year was the year of AI, for sure.
Yeah, they're duplicitous. They want this because AI does two things. And this is all you need to know. One, it makes them money. And it makes them money because it means they don't have to pay anybody. Your YouTube thing, they even in their press release, they bragged about AI generative tools. AI generated this, AI this, AI that. Everybody wants AI because it auto-generates and you don't have to pay AI anything. Like when Microsoft put Copilot and they put AI Paint in your Windows 11, they're going to start charging tokens. That's not free.
So
they want you to pay for everything.
It's kind of fun, especially for Google. Like, AI is a nice, sexy way of saying what they've been doing already. YouTube had like 14 million hours a day. Like 14 million hours a day of video uploaded to their service. They don't have someone sitting there browsing through all those videos and saying, that's acceptable, this isn't. They've been using algorithms to, kind of parse this kind of stuff and take it down automatically. AI is just a fancy way of saying what a lot of these companies, Apple, Microsoft, were already doing. And now they get to earn more money because they get to call it AI. So
yeah, well, I told you at CES, basically it was a bunch of like charlatan companies rebranding smart home as AI.
Yes,
it's like it's stuff we were already doing. It's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. But I will say this: the problem with the FCC declaration is that it's a government body talking about legislating a technology of which they have no authority over, legal authority.
They can try. It's not going to make much of an effect, but
no.
They can try.
But the problem is that you have what's called cascading laws, where if you have that would be like saying the FCC is going to regulate video game time usage, right? Oh, we're going to have a big hearing. Kids should be playing video games. They do it in China, so you can only do 1 hour a day. Well, how do you regulate that?
Did they pull back from that recently? I know that they did. China, and it's totally something that you are drawing from reality. Didn't China pull back from that?
No, they doubled down. They doubled down. No, it's even more. Yeah, China is.
I thought they dropped the restriction on the under 18.
No, it's per day. I know South Korea has been implementing new laws as well to restrict usage of under 18s with social media and I think with China it's role playing games online. I think it's only so many. Honestly, who knows what's real? Honestly, I don't believe half the stuff I read about China and South Korea. But I will say this: again, the FCC has absolutely no authority to regulate anything that occurs between your ISP and your computer. They can't do anything unless it breaks an existing crime, like child pornography, theft, intellectual theft, whatever. But when it comes to AI as a thing, you say, what is AI? You can't even agree what it is. Like, tech industry can't even, they have no definition of what AI is,
right,
or how it functions. And so I'm just saying this is how we get the Terminator.
So let's talk a little bit about
the Terminator's,
that.
Yeah,
so
the Terminator just says you're bored.
Yeah, exactly. So let's in the past couple of weeks, let's see, we recorded right after CES with yourself and Herman Exum and myself. Let's just do a quick recap. And of course, if people want to, go find that, you can find that with the Popzara podcast, which right there at the top, you can see there, and you can come on down to State of Gaming, right here, this one, the second one, right there on the list.
I think that photo of the woman, I think that's an AI image, by the way.
Yes, it's very AI has like this really smooth blended kind of thing going on with their pictures. So, definitely AI. How was it for you? How was CES? Just not
great.
what we did.
I didn't go. I was comfortable at home. Herman went to the show. He represented well. He made some breakthroughs. Had nice meetings. Want to thank my editor at large, Christian Sterling, for helping out from the side. He had never been to a show like this. Thank you, Christian. But no, just again, I'm going to use the word we've used a lot, boring, because most of it was basically AI sloth over everything, and whether it applied or not, AI. Not as many robots, although some robots. There was a lot of fun stuff we looked at, like iterative products. I think there was a lot of auto show stuff. But what about you though? I mean, we talked about this before. You're getting a little antsy in the pantsy about trying to see technology again, and about trying to see actual innovation with tech and toys and things like that. So what do you think?
No, it's CES was covered with AI, like you said, but so has the news cycle for the past year has been all AI. So when it came time for CES, which normally makes its own headlines with, Samsung launches a 140-inch television, or so-and-so, Intel has a new 5 gigahertz processor, something like that, that's, headline worthy. Everything headline worthy was just, oh yeah, the thing you've been hearing about for the last year. Yeah, now X company is doing it. It didn't make headlines, and it's not because what was happening at CES wasn't cool. It's just that, I don't know, people were kind of tired of it, it felt like, and I feel like it just, at least that's the way I felt, it wasn't going to get the attention because we've already been paying so much attention to the space,
Well, so, and it wasn't presented in a way that was enlightening, because we like you said, we were already fed a constant steady drip of it all year long. And so when you saw things like that, it made things that should have been more innovative seem iterative. Like you know what I mean? It's like putting what's that additive they put in all the snack foods? Hot, what is it called? Spicy hot? Spicy hot Cheetos.
Oh yeah,
spicy hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like AI became spicy hot. It was like spicy hot home automation, spicy hot robots.
AI car, AI high beams, AI plants, AI robots, AI cameras. Yeah.
Just add to it, just spicy hot everything, spicy hot AI.
I think I said on the podcast, and I'll say it here again because I truly do believe it. I look forward to next year when I can go, because I feel like this year, if you wanted the fun stuff, the cool stuff, the stuff that you actually want to hear from CES, you had to be there, and you had to kind of eschew the more bigger brand names, and you had to go to Sands, you had to go to the East and West Hall of the Expo Center. Like, I feel like not the big companies probably had the more innovative stuff than the typicals who are usually there.
And that's kind of what CES always is.
That's what you hope it is. That's what you hope it is.
Yeah, you hope it is. Yeah, you're not gonna, like I said, you mentioned at the beginning about Apple's no longer an innovative company like they used to. Not they're an iterative company. And the problem is that maybe, you and I are old enough to still remember when a company could innovate an industry just by waving their hand and say this is something new. But that requires visionaries. And again, I go back to Elon Musk for a second. There was a story. I didn't send you the story, but they talked about his cyber implant thing.
And he implanted the first time in a person. Yep.
And then I saw a parallel story about there was an expose inside that same lab about all the damage it had done to the test monkeys and the animals and everything. And and we forget
them from the inside out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just unpleasant to think about, right? I'm against animal testing, of course, but the idea is that people forget that innovation just doesn't come out of nowhere. Innovation either builds on existing ideas, or it's a eureka moment, which somebody just sees something from a different perspective, but it requires a type of clairvoyant and type of manic ingenuity that cannot just be bought with money.
Honestly, the last time it did happen was with AI. It was with not OpenMind, the one that Microsoft keeps investing into.
Dolly?
No.
ChatGPT or
the creators of ChatGPT, who was made by OpenAI. So OpenAI was the last one to really innovate. So
when I was using the Dolly image generator for the first time, like over a year ago, right? Like a lot of people, I gotta admit to you, part of me was more excited about that technology than I had been in a long time, because it was crude. It was crude. And all I did was make variations of Godzilla, but like Godzilla dancing the ballet, but I felt like technology was vibrant again. Like this is what technology was showing me, like a parallel universe that I couldn't do myself. And I felt that application of it. And of course it got completely taken, for granted and destroyed by everybody. But that's what technology is. Technology, I've always felt, has one focus, has one purpose more than anything else. It is to augment our reality. Like, I don't mean like does it help me write a book?
It's supposed to enhance our existence. Yeah.
Exactly. That has one point. And I think in that way, it really does help. Like, and I'm sorry, like, if I give you an example, like, I don't want anybody complaining about AI art if you use Photoshop, because you're using an artificial tool that's not a real brush you're using. That's that's a tool. Same with music, like the Beatles, for example, with Paul McCartney came out with a song last year where they used AI to enhance John Lennon's voice, right?
Yep.
And people said, "Oh, poo." Okay, but if you listen to Taylor Swift, I don't want to hear any word from you about AI. Like every song you've listened to in the last 10 years has been computerized and augmented and compressed and all this. So just because, that's what I'm saying. Like it's already here. Like you said, it's already here. We're just amalgamating it into something better. It should be exciting. It should be exciting. I want to see things that I've never seen before. And if AI lets me make a picture of Godzilla dancing the ballet while fighting zombies with robots, then I could never draw that myself. And I'm not waiting for that movie from Hollywood. So, I think it's going to be, I'll tell you what, I don't even think we've scratched the surface yet. I don't even think we've begun. I think we're at the primitive stages. We are the embryonic stages. We are at, like, you remember the computers that were in NASA back in the day, big mainframes?
Yeah, of course. The one that you existed inside of, not used.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your computer was your house. But now, like, what's the comparison? A greeting card that sings a song has more technology. That's, that helped generate things like concepts like Moore's law about miniaturization and all this. I think we honestly, for the first time in my adult life, like, I feel primitive. Like, you see, but be serious. Like, when's the last time you got excited about a cell phone? When's the last time you got excited about video game graphics? Yeah. Like, when's the last time you saw special effects that were special in a movie? Like, we've reached a nadir of it. But when it comes to this sort of stuff, this is the Wild West. This is brand new.
This really is new, and I'm but it's so new, but at the same time,
it can be scary though. It can be scary to people.
Yeah.
Like
and of course, finding the best way to apply it to products, which is what we saw at CES, really, and we're gonna wrap up CES, but which is what we saw, which is everyone applying AI as best they could to their product. It didn't matter if you had a toilet or a toaster or a robot or a car. AI had to fold in some way. So there you go. So also looking at the list, you may see there between the top of the list and in our CES wrap up, you of course have the state of gaming, the best, the worst, and everything else games of 2023, which I'm sure must have been a long one because 2023 was somehow a really good year for gaming.
It was fantastic. In fact, we actually debated that. Like, when's the last time we and just independently, because we never talk. It was, of course, Corey Gallagher and our special guest, Antal Bokar from Third Coast Review, Chicago-based, very nice guy. He's been on several times. We don't talk before. We don't want to influence, but we both, like all three of us, kind of settled on the last time we saw such a good year, and it's basically 1997 or 1998. Like that's how good things were. Like you were spoiled for choice. Like it doesn't matter what platform you had, doesn't matter what your interests were, doesn't matter what favorite genre you have, whatever, there was something really, really good for you in 2023. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys had fun recording that, and I'm sure that let's see, you recorded the 17th. When did Pal World come out?
A couple weeks ago. That's it's taken over the world.
So Pal World, I'm sorry, it was released the 19th, so 2 days after you recorded this, or at least published this. And there's a whole different,
That's that's 2024 though, technically.
Yes.
But Pal World has become like the fastest, like most popular Game Pass game. It's become like the second most.
It is the most successful third-party launch ever. Yeah.
And there's been rumbles, and I think a lot of this is muck stirring by journalists, but that Nintendo's going to sue, or the Pokemon
they are not going to sue. They can't sue. They are not going to sue.
Nintendo is the most litigious of all the companies, right? They literally will take on grandmothers. But at this point, I don't know what happens, because I look at Pal World and I see a derivative of Pokemon and Fortnite, but I see like Studio Ghibli stuff in there. I see Nintendo stuff. I don't think any one company has a claim to.
I think they've pulled from enough different. It's almost like they've ripped off enough people that they didn't rip off anyone.
Exactly, and like I said though, I think it says a lot that the desire for your product is such that people will create versions of it. We see that firsthand with things like Fortnite that has every single IP you can imagine, or some of the fighting games or the Halo stuff or whatever that amalgamate. That game Dave the Diver? It's very popular.
Yeah, of course.
It's like Sony announced it's coming to PlayStation, but it's going to have Godzilla in it. So of course I'm excited. But it's just, that's the way it goes, like cross-platform. But again, the one company that seems to be away from this universe of cross-promotion has been Nintendo. Like they have the most valuable. I told you this before. Nintendo has the most valuable IP on the planet, more than Disney, more than anybody. And they're just starting to. Yeah.
Shame on them for waiting for Pal World to do what they should have done a long time ago. And it's so much fun. Like I've put in unspeakable hours. Yes,
you are a part of that. You are part of that.
I've been playing for unspeakable hours, and I finally hit level 50. I'm just about to beat the game probably today or tomorrow. I have one question. Are we going to talk about video cards, or is there time for that? We're going to talk real quick.
Okay.
That's the last point, and then we're going to wrap it up. But also want to say that on Popzara, you have a couple of hardware reviews.
Yes. I want to say this, though, as we segue into this final piece. Pal World is one of those games that, while I haven't played it myself, I'm familiar with enough. It's very glitchy, buggy, all kinds of stuff. And yet it is massively popular. And I think, it's not alone. I think we've seen versions of Pal World come out, like other games that have come out that have been glitchy as hell, and yet are beloved.
Playing the game, I have fallen through the world countless times. My Pokemon have fallen through the world. The AI itself, and I say AI, the models within the game get stuck everywhere, get stuck up in trees. They get caught on everything. It is almost like a skill in itself to manage how crappy the the AI is in the game, but it's still so fun. It's still so fun.
I was going to say, and yet you play.
Oh yeah,
Like it's the old thing of Galileo, like, and yet it moves.
mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, we're talking about we're going to talk about video cards and CPUs, of which I think are connected in a way that maybe might not be so aware when you first play them. Maybe you can like introduce it better than I can, because you keep up on video cards better than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't care as much.
Yeah, no, and I was just going to, kind of start with the reviews that Herman Exum has up on your site for the processors. Mm-hmm. But yeah, NVIDIA has put out the new 4080 graphics card. That's, let's see, well, what is that called? That's like the 4080, not Super, is it? It's
it's the 4080 Super.
Yeah, Super. So yeah, they put out these new cards that are not on their super high end range, because I think they're waiting for the next level, like the 5000 series, to do something special, and that's still going to take like 2025. I think they're thinking like the second half of 2025 they're going to release that. So they're still kind of doing the Intel thing where they milk the same architecture but make it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So they're doing that, but also, like you said, they introduced the RTX 3050 as well. And
was that just today?
You like that?
Well, I like it. I like opposites, but the one you just mentioned, the 3050, did they just announce that today? Didn't they?
Yes.
Okay, real quick, these things don't happen in a bubble. And you mentioned the reviews that Herman did for the new Ryzen's, is it 8000 G series CPUs? For those who don't know, Ryzen's new chipsets are not just upgrades to the 7000 series. These are different. These have, of course, AI built into them, but more importantly, they're basically discrete GPUs inside the CPU. A similar comparison, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. Honestly, Herman knows this stuff like the back of his hand. I'm kind of translating, right? But they're basically very similar to Apple's M2 chips, which are similar, is that they have Apple's silicon uses discrete GPUs inside to create massive power boosts and performance without the need for an external GPU.
Supposedly. So my big issue whenever they kind of claim that kind of thing, when it comes to real world, they being people who create these programs, be it video editing, be it video games, be it browsers, be it operating systems, they design for the architecture that they know best. So they're going to create for the typical 4-core, 8-core kind of processors that they can rely on, that kind of thing. What I'm saying is, yeah, they can introduce all this AI tensor core, and they can do all this other stuff, that Apple's going to do, until someone takes advantage of it, and no one's going to design for a fraction of the market. It's faster, but not until someone takes advantage of it,
Here's my thing. So you have this NVIDIA card, the 3080 Super, $1,000. And that's a step down from the $1,200 version. I think the last year's card of the year was a Radeon, 7800 XT for a lot of people.
Like that.
Yeah. And look, again, you know this better than I do, but a lot of people have lamented the state of the GPU industry because, let's be honest, it's way overpriced. The power for dollar is not where it needs to be. It's a kind of a mess. But there's something else too, though. And this is what I want to get into with the Ryzen chips, is that it doesn't really matter, and because what's happening is the entire video game industry, like VR, everything about these video cards is being sold as gaming. There's not a single review you can read on a top 100 website that talks about video processing, that talks about encoding, that talks about neural networks.
Not the typical stuff. No.
It's like, how many frames does it get in Tomb Raider? Like, Tomb Raider, really? How about a new game? But it's all about that. Like YouTube people who do video encoding need that extra VRAM so they can encode faster, right? But no, let's just focus on frames in Street Fighter. But what I'm saying is, but what I'm saying is, you have a game like Palworld, right? So at the end of the day, if you're a video game developer, and you want to make the most amount of money, So you got to develop for the biggest platform you can, and that's one of two things. And you know what I'm going to go with this. Either you're going to do a very simple pixelated
Mobile.
indie game, mobile, like very simple, like really budgetary, or you're going to make a big budget game. And if you do the big budget round, you have to design for the dominant platform, which, by the way, is not PC. It's the PlayStation 5.
Yep. Which you just do Unreal, and then you get all the markets at once. You just use Unreal Engine, and you're good to go.
But nobody in their right mind is going to develop a $300 million video game for the PC only. Those days are gone. Gone.
Yep.
And so what happens is, it doesn't matter how nice your video card is, right? It doesn't matter how many super it is, doesn't matter how many cores it has, doesn't whatever. At the end of the day, it's got to run on PlayStation 5. So what's going to happen is you're going to get a game that's built for older technology with 8 gig VMU, and your PC version can have bells and whistles. It could have ray tracing better. It could have path tracing. It could have cluster tracing. I don't care what you call it. It could have bells and whistles, but it's not. It's going to be rubber banded to the design of an old console. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So they will always have that centering force, and that's probably for the best. By the way.
Yeah, it's for the best. It's for the best. And the reason I bring that up is not a bad thing, because there's a lot of conversation about, Sony needs a PlayStation 5 Pros to get... No, they don't. That would be suicide. If Sony does a PlayStation 5 Pro, I will come on the show and sing Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. So it's just not going to happen. There's no benefit to it. So you have this $1,000 video card. Everyone's talking about AI. It's got all this stuff. Then you have on the other end, NVIDIA's $180 card, a 6 gig card for budget. And then you have the CPUs. And this is what I want to ask you a question about. So you have these new CPUs. And Herman did the testing, by the way.
Yeah.
He was able to put this perspective. Capcom has been releasing the brand new Resident Evil games on iPhone, right? So those are games made for the PlayStation 5.
They'll milk any IP as hard as they... Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is they're able to get a big boy game on an iPhone. Now, is it as good as the console? No. Is it close? It's very close. So here's the thing. So if you go to the Micro Center or whatever, and you buy a motherboard, and you buy this new Ryzen 8000 series, and that's all you buy, like, RAM and everything, you don't have a GPU, you can still play Starfield. You can play Palworld. You could play Halo Infinite. You could play Call of Duty. And you can get like 60 frames a second on certain settings. You do not need a discrete GPU to play these things. Think about that for a second. Think about the disruption of that for a second. The idea of spending $1,000, right, to get all the bells and whistles, or budget. And you say to yourself, well, I want the bells and whistles. But here's the thing, though. I don't think that's the goal either, Ben. I think what's happening is, here's what I think. I was doing some research after the show. I could be off base, but I don't think so. I think what the industry is doing, the industry is seeding itself a bare minimum of specs. Now, you can call it AI, you can call it whatever, but you're going to have capable machines. Now, people talk about game streaming, like Luna or Google Stadia. So I have a roommate who spent $1,200 on a gaming laptop last year, and it struggled to play, the Harry Potter game, right? He was trying to play the new Avatar game, didn't run well. She signed up for Ubi Play and was playing the game on Luna, and it looked a little fuzzy, like the streaming, but it was running as well as a high-tech PC, right? It was pretty amazing. It was running through her old laptop.
You offload the processing power to much stronger hardware, and you just, as long as you have good data, you stream it.
So,
of course.
So these new CPUs, which can run things natively at a okay frame rate, whatever, but at the end of the day, though, because of what's happening, they're really able to decode this new information, this new streaming stuff a lot quicker. Now, at some point, I think Microsoft has kind of signaled that they are getting out of the hardware business. Like, they haven't said it, but I mean, they've made all inroads of it. They've laid off half their team. It makes no money. Like, it's just right. But Microsoft makes so much money with Minecraft. They make so much money with Office. They make so much money in software. If they can sell you an app on your TV that plays all the big boy Xbox games without losing billions of dollars on hardware, like, is it as good natively? No.
if they can say
it close
that,
enough?
where is the Microsoft hardware, and if they can say anything that runs Windows 10 or 11 is our hardware, then
Well,
that's
not just that though. Not just that. Your TV, your iPad. In fact, did you see what happened? Actually, this is actually interesting. I didn't even mention this to you. Apple changed their policy for third-party apps because of all that kerfuffle that's going on in Europe. Microsoft will be bringing out Game Pass natively for iOS.
I did not hear about that. That's cool.
Yeah, like they just changed. Well, that's what's going to happen. That's the inevitable. Like it's like trying to restrict Netflix, right? But if Netflix required you to buy a Netflix box, they wouldn't have 500 million subscribers.
Right.
Now, remember what I told you before about how a company like Apple can get away with being audacious because they're Apple, and Netflix can get away with doing it because they're Netflix. The only game company in the world that can get away with that sort of nonsense is Nintendo, because Nintendo controls their own IP. They're the only ones that do it. But Sony can't do it. Like you buy a PlayStation 5, enjoy it, whatever. But those games are now going to be on PC in a year. They all are, all of them. Same with Microsoft. They're all available on everything. But if you want to play Mario and Zelda, you gotta play it on Nintendo. Limitations aside. So we have these new CPUs, we have these new GPUs that are way on every end of the spectrum, really cheap, really expensive, really affordable. At the end of the day, none of them make Pal World any less glitchy or any better because software sells. And I think we've reached that point where, again, the future, I'll just say this, Ben, we talked about this before. The future is going to be decided. It may not be what you think it is, but just remember, you can go to the Walmart right now and buy your favorite album on vinyl. You can buy an LP player, or you can listen to it on Spotify. One doesn't necessarily hurt the other. And I think that's kind of where we might be heading with gaming and computers, is that the idea of the low-end high-performance PC is coming. And I think those enthusiasts that want all the bells and whistles and are willing to pay extravagant prices for, let's be honest, diminishing results, you can pay $1,200 for a video card so you can get 5,000 frames in Tomb Raider.
There will always be the enthusiasts, and there will be people who just want something to work, and there will be those who just want to buy a console, and that's it. It doesn't get more complicated than that.
And that's good though. That's a very healthy way to look at it.
Yes, I never thought for a second that consoles were inferior, and that everyone who plays consoles would be so much happier if they could just afford the $5,000 PC. No, you need your everyday Joe Schmo to really appreciate it.
I will say this. I love my PC. I will admit the only console I have, I have access to a PlayStation 5. There's a Switch sitting in front of me. I spent a couple hours the other day playing Zelda on it. I love my Switch. But at the end of the day, though, and I love you, PC. I understand you're the master race, but the PC game. I think PC gamers understand something, whether they admit it or not, that they are a secondary market. The console market is the driving market for most of this. And I don't mean console like plays. I mean like iPhone or Android, or like a dedicated device that plays something, and you get a better version of that eventually. Right. You will get the deluxe edition. But you are a secondary concern. You are. I think there was a story that came out a couple weeks ago that 80% of everybody who buys things on PC waits until sales come out. Yep. It's just how it is. Yeah. It's just how it is, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But so with that being said, Nathan, I think we're going to kind of wrap things up here. And so if you want to check out, any of the podcasts or reviews, you can, of course, check out Popzara. And I never really gave you a chance. Tell the nice folks out there what it is you do over there. It's crazy. You got animals and dinosaurs and stuff. What's going on?
Well, I was going to say thank you for that introduction. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's going to be a new episode of the Popzara podcast, our movie time podcast. Recorded a new episode this week on movies you probably either have not seen or haven't heard about. So nothing sexy there, but a little hint. We are talking about a newer film, Best Picture nominee, The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti. We're pairing it with a surprise film that I don't think I've ever met anybody who's ever seen, called 1994's Nobody's Fool, starring Paul Newman. Very excited. Very, very fun chat with Ethan. We're in the process of getting the talent together to record our version of the best and worst movies of 2023.
Nice.
That's logistics. So once we get logistics done, we can do that. But no, what do? We do a little bit of this and a little of that. A lot of podcasts, a lot of written reviews, a lot of stuff.
Your Halloween kind of, and we just did this on a whim a couple of weeks ago, but like your schlocky Halloween things kind of got me in the mood to watch something, and I think we saw It's Alive. I think it was on Netflix.
Oh, I love that movie. That's a baby movie.
It was awful. It was awful.
No, I love it. I love it. They made 3 of them.
Yeah. They make 3 or 4 because I think they made a 4th one in like 2015
There's one
or
on
something
an island.
like that. Yeah,
there's a crappy remake. No, I love that movie because it's like no budget, nothing.
It was really, and you could tell most of the scenes were just like with the monster were just like some guy dressed as a baby. It was anyways.
Wait, did you say monster? It's a baby.
It's a monster. I don't care what you say. It's a monster. But still.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
The poster's kick ass. The poster for that movie is awesome.
Yes. So I will say that I really enjoy what you and your writers do over there, and I appreciate you coming on the show all the time and sharing your thoughts with us.
Let me ask you a question though. So you had fun watching a schlocky movie.
I did.
When's the last time you said, "Hey, let's get the guys together and come over and watch The English Patient"?
Yeah.
Oh man, Terms of Endearment. Yeah. Like no, you can't do that. You got to watch Troll 2. You got to.
I have been meaning to catch up on like Aquaman and stuff like that, but instead recently I've watched It's Alive and Blazing Saddles. Like that's like my most recent watch stuff. So
I think Aquaman cost $200 million to make. It's a huge bomb, right? But cost $200 million. Every major movie that's fun costs all this money, but then you watch some of the schlocky stuff, and you realize there's more creativity put into it. There's more thought more love put into it than all this soulless Hollywood crap.
Right.
And I think people respond to that a little bit. They do. I'm not saying it's not. These are not cinematic. This is not, as Martin Scorsese would say, cinema, but it's much more enjoyable. It's much more fun.
Yeah, it's certainly different. But hey, Nathan, that is neither here nor there. We have already run very long on this one, so I want to thank you so much for giving us all your time. And
sure.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more, computeramerica.com. We'll have the show notes, everything that we talked about. And otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you here next time. Every last Friday of the month, unless we have something happen, which never happens, unless we have something happen. Nathan, thank you. And we'll catch you next time here on the show. So, everyone out there.
Happy Groundhog's Day.
Happy Groundhog. Well, when is that, by the way?
Today?
Really? I thought you were just talking about just general life stuff. I didn't know.
No, I was making a meta joke about this being Groundhog's Day.
Man, these things come so quick. So, and what happened? Punxsutawney Phil declared an early spring. So, spoiler alert. There you go. So,
shocking.
Yep.
Climate change.
Absolutely. So, and climate change, they've actually turned to using AI to declare when early spring is. AI groundhogs. So, everyone, until next time, thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.